Hi everyone, and welcome to our presentation. Today we're going to be talking about Gabriel Orozco and his No Fear collection from 2001. This presentation is by me, Morgan Brisby, Jasmine Bridges, Ivy Kane, Nathaniel Brook, and Joe Brock.
Gabriel Orozco was born in Jalapa, Mexico, in the state of Veracruz in 1962. He later attended Escuela Nacional de Artes Plásticas at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. He additionally studied at Círculo de Bellas Artes in Madrid from 1986 to 1987. He works with many different media forms, including drawing, installation, photography, sculpture, and video. His work is heavily influenced by conceptualism, which is defined as the essence of art as an idea or concept, and may exist distinct from and in the absence of an object as its representation. He also takes influence from his native Mexican roots. A lot of his early work focused on placing everyday objects in places that you would not expect to find them, such as 5 Problems, made in 1992, which has 5 potatoes on 5 stacks of spiral notebooks in the stationery section of a store. He lives a nomadic lifestyle, refusing to settle down, and this influence is also evident in his art. He is known for pushing the boundaries of the limits of traditional artistic media and comes from a family of artists. His dad was the cousin of Jose Clemente Orozco, who was one of the Los Tres Grandes that we learned about earlier in this class. This led to his childhood being filled with both artistic and political influence.
Now I'm going to discuss all of our personal reactions. Nathaniel said, "My initial reaction was that it reminded me of an X-ray of a broken hand, which immediately evoked a theme of trying to fix brokenness." Jasmine said, "When I first saw it, I was overwhelmed to be unpacking all of the potential interpretations it could mean in terms of art culture." Ivy said, "My first reaction to the piece was confusion. My initial thoughts were that the pointer and the middle finger represented a guitar neck, and I was confused as to what the rest of the hand represented." Joe said, "My initial reaction was it reminded me of when people would put their hands in wet cement, or do a handprint so that their hand would show up in the finished piece. The missing thumb enforces it because sometimes you don't get a good push, but there is a real natural incompleteness to it." Morgan said, "My first reaction was that it looked like an X-ray of a hand with lots of stitches and metal rods. To me, it represented a mending of something broken."
Gabriel Orozco created an entire collection of handprint pieces that together he called Fear Not. This collection was created in 2001 and has been displayed at the Museum of Modern Art, the Marion Goodman Gallery, and many other places. The images provided are a few of the pieces from the collection that were not the chosen piece that we decided to use in our project. As seen, all of these images have the subject of a handprint, but due to their own unique characteristics, they each have their own version of a meaning behind the image. As seen, some of the images contain a lot of color, such as the images more towards the left side of the PowerPoint slide, whereas some of the images are black and white, such as the images towards the right, and the image that we chose to use for our project. The image to the right is our chosen artwork from the collection Fear Not by Gabriel Orozco. This was the first piece of the collection that we saw when researching Gabriel Orozco's artwork, and so we decided to utilize this piece. We honestly didn't even know that this artwork was from a collection of artwork created by Gabriel Orozco until we began to do research on the piece. The piece itself was created from synthetic polymer paint and a felt tip pen on paper, which we assume is what the other pieces in the collection were created from as well. The piece itself piqued our interest due to the tiny details, such as the details in the palm of the hand as well as in the fingers. These details had to evoke a deeper meaning behind the image. The missing thumb was also an attention grabber for us. In comparison to the other images of the collection, the other pieces of the collection contain thumbprints within their handprint image. Even though this piece did not, for us that meant that the thumb had to have a deeper meaning behind it as to why it was missing.
Here is the reaction and the description of the work. The reaction. When I first viewed this work, it came across as extremely powerful. The handprint gave a mysterious illusion, while the inside of the hand presented something broken and personal, needing to be fixed. And the description. This artwork was created with synthetic polymer paint and a felt tip pen on paper. It's 11 inches by 8.5 inches and features a very detailed handprint with what looks like stitches connecting the pointer finger and the middle finger. There's not a thumb on the hand. We're also able to see the specifics of the finger and the handprints and a large bunch of cord wrapped inside the middle of the palm.
In formal characterization, the critic is looking for the intended impact in things like the colors, theme, and general relationships. In this piece, we felt that the mood was a combination of focus, but open-minded, that we're supposed to look beyond what was initially presented. We're drawn to the missing thumb and the general shape because it's clearly a hand, something we are familiar with, but the missing thumb highlights that there's something different than what we're used to. That being said, without the thumb, we can still tell that it is a hand. The style of the work is best classified as formalist because there's a major focus in the shape, but there is aspects of expressionist because I do believe Orozco is trying to convey emotion, inner feelings, and the shape itself has a lot of distorted minor details. The all-black color scheme and the choice of using something as familiar as a hand with the missing thumb made it classified as bold and intellectual. If the piece were to go the opposite way with some of its current choices, I do think it would lose a few things, mainly if the color were changed. I think the piece would lose a lot of the finer details and the individual makeup of the hand. It also would take away from the overall bold and intellectual look. The current color also invites the looker to see beyond the initial sight of the hand, so I feel a switch in color would negate that as well. Some historical and cultural context. As we mentioned before, the artist, a man by the name of Gabriel Orozco, this piece of art is part of an exhibition titled Fear Not. We believe the intention is to highlight the similarities, like we all have hands, but there is a lot of things that make us up, which is why we are different. Just because maybe physically we look the same, we know that there are finer details that all make us who we are as individuals. The main portion of this exhibition was created in 2001 in Korea as in Mexico. However, the painter did travel a lot during his creation of this exhibition, so it's not really specific where exactly this particular one was painted. It reflects the time and place because it, along with the rest of the works in the collection, seem to highlight the separate between collective and individual identity. The piece is a contemporary and conceptual stylist art piece. It is a painting, so it doesn't really have a function. The major influence of this exhibition was the artist Orozco. He traveled all over the world. He went to places like India and Costa Rica, and he used aspects he gained from his travels to create the work. This attributes to the total impact as the collection as a whole because it follows the same style of art. So overall, there's a lot of common themes in the painting style in the Fear Not exhibition. This common demonstrates the artist's overall attention to detail and his attempt at trying to connect things that otherwise would seem unrelated. For interpretation, we believe the meaning of the work is heavily influenced with the concept of identity, both collective and individual. The shape of the hand is something that everyone is able to recognize, and even with the missing thumb, we can tell that it's a hand. Upon further inspection, you can see the hand is made up of knots and pins. This highlights the idea of individual identity, that we are made up of different things from culture to experience. If we were in the painting, I think that we would focus on the individual parts that make the piece for what it is. I think the overall goal of the artist was to look beyond the original picture, and we see how the big picture is made. It makes you look and think about the process itself rather than solely the final product. There were things that this piece reminded us of. We thought of the projects that the children would make with paint in their hands and then concrete hands when people want to sign their names without actually writing their names, and x-rays of hands in general. And if we were to name the piece, we would probably call it Identity, mainly because it seems to focus on some form of identity.
For our evaluation using aesthetic theory, we decided to choose emotionalism. Emotionalism is an aesthetic theory highlighting the expressive qualities in a work of art. The important purpose of such an artistic work is to intensely communicate to the spectator different feelings, moods, and ideas. Emotionalist artworks are also aimed at creating strong emotions in the viewer. Emotionalism is shown in Gabriel Orozco's work in a few different ways. This piece shows individualistic ideas through the handprints and the missing thumb. It also gives emotion to the viewer because the hand is connected with many strings and stitches, insinuating that the hand is broken and in need of mending.
The relevance to this course, there are 3 different modules that helped understand how this painting of Gabriel Orozco's was relevant to our course, which included the cultural diversity module, the race being an illusion module, and Critiquing Art module. With the Cultural Diversity module, it helped understand how different aspects of his artwork helps portray his art to the world, how each different thing he paints has the different relevant meaning, and how to understand his meaning in his painting more better. During Race Being an Illusion module, it helped demonstrate that as humans, we have categorized people into races, and we treat them differently, and Gabriel Orozco knew that race was an issue, so he drew something that we all had in common, which was a hand. He did so to make it more relatable to the whole human race. Lastly, on Critiquing Art, that module helped in understanding different aspects of the piece and inferring what their meaning could be due to his history in different art pieces. His technique is similar in his art in the way the message that he conveys, which also helped in figuring out what type of message he wants to send to the world. With the artist's intention, Gabriel Orozco uses 3 different types of pieces called surrealism, conceptualism, and formalism in his art to help enhance his artwork, his ideas, and his beliefs. Through surrealism, he stressed the subconscious of the mind. He showed a half-filled hand to allow the significance of the painting to be taken more literal. So Gabriel shows a half-painted hand to allow the viewer to reach their subconscious and think the hand's significance, specifically of it being half-painted. With the formalism, the painting includes a series of dots through the hand. The lines could be roads, depending on interpretation throughout the hand connecting the dots. The painting can also be interpreted as black and white, which means he uses a minimal technique to make his powerful photo more influential. With the conceptualism, Gabriel Orozco's ideas behind his paintings speaks volumes since his artwork shows a finished product that captures a difficult situation for many people. He uses minimal techniques and minimal color to describe history through this finished hand painting.
Lastly, here are our citations. Thanks for watching.